uniting him with his grandfather and fellow ref Bill Stewart Sr., please welcome Paul Stewart to the United States Hockey Hall of Fame.
Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs, et bienvenue à Nashville. Oh, wrong speech. Привет, друг. Как дела? Oh, another wrong speech. Dave Fisher has told me I have 10 minutes. Dave, where are you? Right over there? You're not the first guy to give me 10. Jim Smith, Pat Kelleher, Digger Gregorio, my friend Lou Vero, my traveling buddy, all over Ufa, Omsk. Have you ever been to Omsk? It's in Russia. It's sort of like Fort Lauderdale without the palm trees. I'd like to thank the selection committee. A lot of times when I make assignments in officiating, people think I do it in a dark room with a box of darts and a fan. And I'm not too sure necessarily that I fully comprehend the honor that I've been given tonight. I would like to say that with my fellow inductees, and as well to be mentioned tonight with Jim Johansson, I congratulate his family. And always remember that someone who has been here so long and so strong hasn't left. They're still here. They've left a legacy. David Poile, he talked about his father. One night in Cincinnati, the night that the team was going to fold in the Central Hockey League, I got a phone call from a former teammate, Tim Sheehy, and he said, the team's folding, all the Whaler players are going to go to Springfield. So I got into a little disagreement with a fellow by the name of, Ted something. At any rate, he was sort of hard-headed, and we went at it a bit, and then I looked at the clock, and there was 7 minutes to go, and I asked the timer, can you move your seat forward just a little bit? There wasn't too much separating us. And I went over and tapped him on the shoulder, and he looked up, and I threw a shot. I missed. I hit the glass. Well, nonetheless, I got ejected from the game. It's interesting because Bud Poile was the commissioner of the league at the time. I came down with an ice bag on my hand, and he said, good thing the team's folded. And I said, why is that? He said, you were going to get 2 weeks off. What a venue, the city of Nashville. Now, I've been here, and they named a bar after me, the Legends Corner. By the way, what do you think of the suit, right? Brooks Brothers. Now, where I grew up, Brooks Brothers, we thought they made the cough drops. I've come a long way. But I would like to thank Sean Henry and David Poile and all of the Nashville Predators. In my entire career coming into Nashville as a referee, I had never been anywhere in that building above ice level. And last night, I was treated to a real treat to see all of the people and to see all of the people working in the arena with smiles and greeting us. And even me as a referee, when they found out I was a referee, they were still nice. And of course, my friend Jerry Helper, who squired me around and made sure I got to everything I went to. I have a secret about the city of Nashville that a lot of people don't know. Your representative for the past 20 years has been one of my classmates from Groton School, James Cooper. And James Cooper went to Groton School with me. His cubicle was right next to mine, and he graduated after 5 years summa cum laude. He became a Moorhead Scholar. He went to North Carolina, and then he went to Harvard Law, and then eventually went to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. And James can't be here tonight. He sent me a nice note, but I just want to share with you that I helped him with his homework almost every night. As a referee, I have to say, when I saw that threesome up here, Granato, Chelios, and Laviolette, I got a little nervous. I had to go to the washroom because I have individual stories about each one of those guys. But it's nice to see that the Nashville Predators have employed my former defense partner with the New York Rangers when I was a player there for just a brief time. In fact, I bought $800 worth of tickets my first game, exhibition game against the Flyers. And all of these people came, and I bought all these tickets, and John McCauley, God rest his soul, was the referee, and I started the game, and I was psyched, and I'm wearing the sweater, and I'm in New York, and Madison Square, and Frank Sinatra played here, and holy smokes. And I lasted 81 seconds. And Nick Beverly was my partner. Poor guy, if you look at his picture on the Predators website, you see he has no hair whatsoever. There's another guy that's working there, a guy named Kevin McCarthy. Kevin and I rewrote the entire rule book for the National Hockey League. I was working a game in Hershey one night, and there was a breakaway, and the defenseman tugged at this guy and pulled him down, and the fella slid into the net. So, of course, my arm went up, penalty shot. I'm thinking penalty shot. And then the puck's lying right in the crease. And the opposing player goes to shoot it, and Kevin McCarthy reaches over and picks the puck up and throws it over the glass. Penalty shot. It's rules, right? If you rob a bank and then steal a car, you get 2 crimes. Ipso facto. I go over to report the penalties, and the phone rings. And it's Frank Mather, Hall of Fame, longtime Hershey Bear general manager and coach. And the fella hands me the phone. He says, Mr. Mather wants to talk to you. He said, Paul, Mather here. I said, yes, sir. What can I do for you? He said, in all my years of hockey, I've never seen 2 penalty shots called on one play. I said, well, Mr. Mather, you won't be able to say that tomorrow. Last night, I got a chance to see Tommy Fitzgerald, who was the captain of Nashville when I first came back in 1998 after my illness. The second game back was here in Nashville. And Tommy came in with many of the Nashville players and presented my son, Macaulay, who was just a young boy. He was just 2 or 3 months old. And they gave us a Nashville Predators sweater. And I say that, and I remember that, because of the fact that last night I saw the same thing as I saw in 1998, the class organization. And, you know, that's why people win, because they win with class and dignity. And they've got a few other fellows that I know so well, Hal Gill and Brent Peterson, Pete Weber, and my longtime friend from 1972 when I was the rink rat and the gopher at the University of Pennsylvania. That was the Ivy League school, by the way. Terry Crisp, playing with the Philadelphia Flyers. And I got a chance to meet Ray Shero's dad, who for 3 years was always kind to me. And those fellows inspired me, because I didn't get to play a lot. But I never quit. I'd like to say for you, just to meet my family for 1 second. My wife, Lori, is from Minnesota. She's right here. My son, Macaulay, John Stewart, named after the late, great John Macaulay, and Maxwell Stewart. Now, Lori is from Minnesota, and there's no truth to the rumor that she is the only woman in Minnesota that didn't like hockey but loved the Mall of America. Also at the table was Auntie Barb Hobson, who went from Minnesota. She's now in Dallas. my longtime friend Kevin Harrington, my teammate, former Speaker of the House, and his son, John Harwood. And I speak of Penn because it's important to know that it's one of the few Ivy League schools that does not have a hockey program. But when I went there, they did. And in 1978, we got a new president of the school, and Title IX came in, and it had absolutely nothing to do with Title IX. The new president of the school said, looking at this hockey program, have we had any graduates that have excelled in the sport? Oh yes, Paul Stewart. He made it to the WHA in the National Hockey League. And she looked at my record, and the program promptly was dropped. But we have a rallying cry. Stu Siegel, former owner of the Florida Panthers, is one of our graduates, and he is with Hockey Tech. He's the owner and actually helping stream tonight's broadcast. And we're going to try to do something like Penn State or Arizona to find an angel. I did mention I went to Groton School. I would like you to meet a fellow who for 52 years was a coach and teacher there. And I was one of his students and players early on. And even though I was there early on, he still stayed as a teacher and a coach. John Choate, his sons Timothy and David are here tonight. And as well, sitting at his table are two of my best friends. Both were the hockey managers at Groton, Steve Borgeson and Larney Fowler. Larney went on to become the manager of Princeton hockey. And of course, we all have been to Hobey Baker Rink, and we know Hobey Baker, and we know much about him. And Larney was so excited that I was being inducted to the Hall of Fame, to be with Hobey Baker, really. And I'm sort of excited too, because I think of all the other people that are involved in the Hall of Fame. People that I knew: Ned Harkness, Eddie Jeremiah, Snooks Kelly, Jack Kelly, Billy Cleary. I had a special relationship with coaches. I knew them on a first-name basis because my dad, he would say to me, "You want to go? I'm going to Harvard tonight. You want to go? You want to go to Dartmouth? You want to go here?" I always wanted to go. And I was always 3 feet behind him. For those of you that may have been thinking that my induction would have been posthumous, or for some of you who may have said, or who may have said even, "He'll get in over my dead body." I was well prepared tonight. I brought along Dr. Valerie Ratz and Matthew Garnett from St. Louis, both doctors, who also have a hockey tie. They own the Sioux City Musketeers. I met them in Russia. Their son Cam is a goaltender for Harvard. I also invited along tonight Dr. Chip Burke, who was Mario's doctor, not his psychologist after he dealt with me, but he and I have been lifetime friends. So if any of you are feeling the slightest bit faint, we're well prepared. We have the paddles in the back of the room, and there are plenty of breath mints in case we have to do CPR. Tonight, I look out and I see heads of leagues that I worked for, and they're here tonight. Dave Andrews is the president of the American Hockey League. And that is the training and proving ground for many young players, especially for young referees. Because the mistakes and things that happen in the American Hockey League are maybe not going to happen in the National League, but they prepare you. For instance, I had a great relationship with Dave's predecessor, Jack Butterfield, God rest his soul, and Gordy Anziano, who was also the head of officiating in the American League. One night when I was playing against the Maine Mariners, I fought Cunningham, Cochran, Linsman, Paddock. Cunningham, Cochran, Linsman, Paddock. He said, "Oh, you just mentioned them." Yeah, well, they came around again. So I got a letter from Mr. Butterfield. You're being relieved of $850. I appealed it, and in a very animated conversation, Dave Andrews' predecessor said to me, You'll get that money back over my dead body. Well, I went to his funeral. There was no check there. Tonight we have Gary Bettman and Bill Daly here. I met Gary in 1993 in the dressing room in Calgary. I said, how are you? Nice to know you. Coming over from the NBA. And he said, yes. And I said, do you feel prepared, ready to deal with us? We're coming up with a new contract. He said, I think I'm ready. I said, well, you went to where? He goes, Cornell. I said, were you in the hotel program? Bill Daly went to Dartmouth, and I went to Penn, and the Gund brothers went to Yale, and went to Harvard, and the Knox brothers were at Yale. The Ivy League, pretty well, we had the thing going pretty well for a while there. But it's interesting, toward the end of my career, you always want to be, and I took Wayne Gretzky's advice, you want to retire or leave the game when people say you can still go, not when they say you should have gone. And I went to, because of my infirmities and other different challenges that I had, I went to both Gary and Bill, and over a plate of Chinese food, we worked it out. And I got the distinction of being an American to work the 1,000th game because of them. And I appreciate that, and I don't forget it. And when I was sick, they stood up for me. Maybe the world thought they had to. But it took a lot of stress and pain off of my mind to take care of my family in case I didn't make it. I want to congratulate you for being in the Hockey Hall of Fame, Gary. It's a great distinction, and all the years, you've done all right for a Cornell guy. I'm joining another official who was a teammate of mine who I worked with for a very long time. He was one of the best athletes I ever worked with, and he was as passionate as they came. I was glad we didn't play against each other. Kevin Collins was inducted last year. He joins Bill Chadwick, who my grandfather broke in as a referee in the early 40s in the National Hockey League. Last night I had the chance to watch Brian Murphy, Tony Saracola, Chris Rooney, and a guy that worked my 1,000th game with me, Wes McCauley. And I appreciate that Steve Walken made some nice comments and as well made these 4 available guys come here tonight and the crew that's coming for tomorrow. You don't understand this, but besides putting on those polyester sweaters, and it's not that you people hated me, you didn't know me, you just really didn't like black and white polyester sweaters. But there's a brotherhood amongst us. One of my closest brothers is Pat DiPuzzo, and he's here tonight, and he still works with me in the ECAC, and his 2 boys are coming along as officials, as are my 2 boys, Maxwell Stewart, who, if you haven't met him, he's the guy with the 13 on his chin right here. And Macaulay, who's living in Detroit and in Duluth and refereeing in WCHA in Division III in Minnesota in high school hockey and working for Gene Binda in junior. Not too long ago, I gave a speech at the Jewish Museum and Holocaust Memorial in Moscow. And all the people that you read about were sitting right there. And what I did was I held up these, and I asked them, what are these? What do you think these are? And of course, they all said they're skates. And I said, yes, you're right. This pair actually was the pair that my sons first started with. I said, yeah, you're right. These are skates. But for me, they've been my passport to the world. And they've been the way that I found my life. And when the dark moments came to me, it was being with you and being in the game and competing to win that kept me going. You've feted me tonight, all of us. And I often think of that movie, 12 O'Clock High, when General Savage says, I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in luck either. I didn't give you 110%. I didn't give you 90%. I give you 100%. I give you 100% every night. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I gave you my 100%. And that was the best I could do. But I had great teachers. And if it wasn't for Scotty Morrison, the head of officiating, John McCauley, and Frank Advari, who pinned me against the wall in Springfield one night and told me, if you don't have the guts to make a call here, how are you going to do it in Madison Square Garden? There's not too far away from Harrisburg and Hershey, a little field. In 1863, our 16th president made a speech. It actually started off as a hockey speech. It was about the Bruins. 4-7. It was Espo and Orr. But Lincoln said, the world will little note, no long remember what we say here. You may not long remember what I say here. But I say to you, and I go on with what he had to say, it is rather for us, the living, to be dedicated to that great task which is remaining. And you ask me, what is the task? I made a mistake when I was informed that I was going to be inducted into this Hall of Fame. I said to Dave Fisher, this is a capstone in my life. Now, not too far away from where my house is, there's a big stone, and it says 17 miles to Boston. They call that a milestone. And it's 17 miles to Boston or 17 miles from Boston. Tells you how far you have to go or how far you've been. A capstone is the conclusion. And Dave Fisher said to me, is this the end of your career? And I thought about it. And I'd like to tell you, I don't think so much. That I have to rededicate myself. And if I can do it, I can't do it by myself. I have to do it with teammates, with people who believe in the game. And 550 people in this room aren't here because they love basketball. It's because we love hockey and what hockey has done for us individually and collectively. We need to be able to make this game affordable. I didn't come from a lot of dough. I started out with my sister's white skates. My young friend in the back there, Matthew Sherman, he did a great job. He took a story that I had written about my first pair of skates, boys' skates, and he turned it into a children's book. I love the guy. He's right up there. And his mother and his brother Sammy, Liza Sherman, and his uncle Bill Meltzer. And guess what? The proceeds are going to help Snyder Hockey and ice hockey in Harlem. They get it. But we need to be able to keep the game affordable. We need to keep the game safe. My guy's got 13 stitches in his face. When I got stitches, I just turned around and went back out, and I inflicted a few stitches of my own. We need to recruit anybody that can skate. Don't tell me you're entitled to the game. Tell me, can you skate? Have you got the guts? Can you play? We need to do a video to show parents how to be good parents and good fans. We've got to stop driving referees away from the game. And we need to get more players, especially women players, to accept the idea that in the whole pizza pie of hockey, that refereeing is just one slice, and it's a good slice. It worked for me. Because I'm going to tell you, it's something my dad told me. It's not demanding respect, it's earning respect. And when people, young people especially, and hockey players never get in hot water when they're on ice, if they can skate and they have that anchor, they're too tired to get in trouble. I need a touch of water. Does anybody have a glass? Because I'm just about done. Thank you very much. All right? Water is the greatest gift that man to man can bring. That who am I that I should have the best of anything? Princesses revel at a pump, and piers and pawns drink free. But whiskey, gin, yes, even beer is good enough for me. For those of you that think every night we were on the road, that we were out having a good time, especially at this time of the year, room service in a movie worked for me. One of my favorites was White Christmas with Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby. In 1983, when Scotty Morrison invited me to Toronto to show my stuff, to see if I had it, to become a referee, I went to Bruce Hood's school in Milton, a refereeing school. And there, when we got there, they showed us all the things that we needed to know about positioning and skating. And then off ice, what they did was they said, we're going to put you on TV. We want to see how you react. And I think they wanted to see our presence. So I stood up. I said, hello, I'm Paul Stewart. I'm from Boston. Bonjour, je m'appelle Paul Stewart. J'habite au Boston. The guy said, well, why did you do it in French? I said, this is Canada. It's 2 languages. We got to do that. So I was happy because the first time and I got it right, but the first time I went to Quebec, Jamie Hislop, my roommate, and I were at the Chateau Frontenac. He said, my nickname was the Cat. Cat, order us some dinner. I said, okay, why don't we get that chicken they deliver? Le coq rôti. They have a little yellow car and a chicken on top. And I says, yeah, that's good. And we had a few adult beverages. So I called up and I said, bonsoir, je voudrais 2 poulets dinner avec patate frites. You know, if I want chicken dinner and French fries. And we're in the room, Chateau Frontenac, etc., etc. So about a half hour later, the guy shows up. I open the door. There he is. 12 chicken dinners. De and douze are so close when you have a Boston accent. They had a bit of a talent show at Bruce Hood School. How am I doing for time? Hago ceded his remaining minutes according to Congress. So one of my other favorite movies is The Quiet Man, Something I'm Not, with John Wayne, when they have that fisticuff that goes for miles. So I love the music in that. I'm actually Scotch-Irish, you know. My father's Scottish, my mother's Irish. Do you know what that means? Scotch-Irish? I love to drink, I hate to buy. So they said to me, can you tell a joke? Can you play the piano? Can you do anything? I said, yeah, I can sing. They said, you can sing? I said, give me a few minutes. And I came back. I'd like to conclude with this song. May I? It is our night. It is my night. It is my 15 minutes, or Hago sent to me the other part. There was a wild old Boston boy, Paul Stewart was his name. He was born and bred in Old Beantown to play this hockey game. He was his mother's middle son, his father's pride and joy. He played it rough, he played it tough, this wild old Boston boy. And then one day a thought came to his battered brain. Perhaps there's another way for me to stay in the hockey game. Perhaps I can be a referee, a shirt of black and white, a hairspray can, a winter's tan that comes from neon lights. Well, it really is amazing, it's almost out of sight. You ask me what's amazing as it's near the end of the night. I'll tell you what's amazing, I'll tell you what's out of sight. Next time you see me on TV, I'll be stopping instead of starting the fight. Thank you.